Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to be talking about brand conspiracy theories. So this was kind of an idea that I had when I was talking about the ColourPop palettes being a different formula between their regular ones and their collab palettes, which seem like they're always a little bit better, and then the Target palettes that maybe aren't as good as their regular ones. So it got me thinking, what other brand conspiracy theories are out there? And I asked all of you over on my community tab on YouTube, and I got a lot of really interesting responses. Some of them were very thought-provoking. I wish I could use them all, but unfortunately this video would be way too long. I could always do it again if you guys are interested. And along the way, I'm going to be doing a full face of Doll 10 makeup because I've gotten tons of requests to see that. So I'm going to be applying some of my favorite products from the brand. So let's go ahead and jump right in and get started. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and start my look with the Doll 10 Rose Quartz Under Eye Brightener or Corrector. So this does come in two colors. The Rose Quartz one is more for fair to light skin tones. They also have a deeper option as well. And this is the best color corrector. It really helps to brighten your under eye area. And when I use this, I almost feel like I don't need concealer. So it really does a great job at hiding the discoloration. So while I apply this, let's go ahead and read the first conspiracy theory. All right, so this person said, Tati had mentioned in a video recently that Pixi and Urban Decay have the same manufacturer for their eyeliners. So their formulas are incredibly similar. So I don't know exactly how true that is, if that was something that she actually knows for a fact, or if she was just kind of thinking that. And then someone followed up this comment with another one that said, this fits because Marlene Estelle said in one of her recent videos that both high-end and cheaper eyeliners and lip liners tend to be made in the same manufacturing facilities like Germany and Italy. So essentially you don't need a high end of either unless you like a specific shade of the higher end one. So I thought that this was really interesting and I completely agree with it. I don't know again about like Pixi and Urban Decay being made in the same factory, but do you guys remember that drugstore brand Jordana? They had eyeliners that were like $2 and they were made in Germany and they were fantastic. Like they held up to any other high-end formula. Also, Koki Cosmetics has some of my favorite eyeliners and lip liners, and those also are made in Germany, and they remind me so much of the Urban Decay 24/7 ones. So I think really when it comes to eyeliner, you don't need to spend a lot of money. I mean, there are some bad ones out there and some that are more on the dry side, but usually ones that say made in Germany on them are always amazing. I've never had a bad experience with one of those. So somewhere there is probably like an eyeliner / lip liner factory that's making all of those really good formulas, and it's just then up to the brand to add a certain markup to it. Next up for my face, I'm going to be using Doll 10's Anti-Stress Skin Perfector in the shade Light. This is very similar kind of to the IT Cosmetics CC cream. It doesn't have the SPF though, and also this has a ton of skincare ingredients in it, so it's really like skincare with quite a bit of coverage to it. So it's just got a ton of really good ingredients in it, and it feels and looks like a moisturizer on your skin, except like I said, with a little bit more coverage. I would say the coverage is probably medium. You can build it up to full, and I'm going to apply it with the brush from my Doll 10 brush set. I love a slanted foundation brush, which is why I designed this one this way, because it just kind of helps you to get right up underneath your eyes and around your nose so much more easily. So let's go ahead and read the second conspiracy theory. This says, regarding 21 Days of Beauty. Oh, this one's really interesting. Ulta has more than enough stock most of the time, but will cut off orders if they hit a certain limit. I'm not associated with Ulta in any way or know anything about supply chain management, so this is pure guesswork. But I have noticed that if an item I wanted goes out of stock during the day, if I wait until the next day at about 12 a.m. sharp, and they live in the Midwest Central Time Zone, those items are magically back in stock. I have discovered that within a tiny window of time, like between 12:01 a.m. and 12:04 a.m., I can put the previous day's sales and the current day's sales into my cart and check out. I have done this 3 times, and Ulta has honored the price. So that is actually fascinating. Again, no proof of this necessarily. This is just their experience, but it kind of makes you wonder, like, for example, she's saying if, like, let's say the day that the MAC paint pots were on sale, if your favorite shade sold out, then if you go back on at midnight, which technically is the next day, that paint pot would restock, and just within those couple of minutes would still be at the sale price, and you would be able to get that one and the next day's sales at the same time. So that's pretty interesting, and I did wonder wonder, especially this year, I felt like everything sold out so fast on the Ulta 21 Days of Beauty. Often I would wake up in the morning and the things that I wanted were already gone because of people buying them like at midnight. I live on the East Coast, so for me to stay up till midnight, like Central, when the sale went live, I would have had to stay up till 1 a.m. and I just wasn't gonna do that. And I was really disappointed that I wasn't able to get certain things, but it kind of made me wonder, like, why are things selling out so fast? And it makes sense that Ulta would cut that off at a certain point. Like maybe they don't really sell out, but they just cut it off because selling things at 50% off has to eat into their bottom line. And at some point, they would probably lose money if it kept going that way, if enough people bought something at 50% off. So I do wonder if they have some sort of an internal limit where it's like, we can't sell more than 1,000 of these before we start to lose money. So we're just going to say it's out of stock. That's actually very, very interesting. All right. The next theory says that alter ego is truly bad habit, but they're afraid to fully admit it. Pat McGrath was the one who took them to court for duping her palettes since she sues everyone. So actually, I do have insider knowledge on this because I have a contact at Alter Ego and she told me right from the very beginning the story of what happened. So if you remember, Shop Hush was that app on your phone and you could order beauty products through it. They had a ton of different brands, but Bad Habit was like their house brand. And so when Shop Hush went under, Bad Habit went under as well. And when that happened, there was a group of employees who found themselves out of a job. They decided to start their own company because Bad Habit was actually very popular and did well. So they thought maybe independently of Shop Hush, it would do better. So this group of people started Alter Ego with like certain contacts that they had in the supply chain. So that's why the palettes and all of the products look so similar to Bad Habit. But Bad Habit itself was actually purchased by Morphe, and Morphe turned it into a skincare brand, and they're now sold at Ulta. And I know this because maybe like 6 months to a year after Shop Hush went under, I looked at the Bad Habit website and it was still there, and they had a little note saying, "We're not gone, we're actually going to be coming back at some point." So I kept an eye out for it and I was waiting to see what would happen, but they're definitely two separate companies because Bad Habit still existed when Alter Ego came out. All right, so next up, I'm gonna use the Doll Skin Genius Tinted Under Eye Treatment. So this is kind of like an eye cream and a concealer in one. It's very, very light coverage. So if you need a little bit more, I would recommend their TCE concealer. That one is really, really incredible, but I feel like I really don't need much coverage, if any, because I use the corrector. So I'm just gonna put this on to brighten up a little bit. Okay, so the next theory says, I believe Lancome and L'Oreal are the exact same product. L'Oreal owns Lancome, and everyone always says that the L'Oreal Infallible Foundation is a dupe for Lancome's foundation. So it wouldn't surprise me if all of their products are similar, but just in different packaging. And I actually got a ton of responses saying exactly this. Another person said, I believe that since L'Oreal owns Lancome and other high-end brands, many of the products are really shared between these two labels and basically packaged more cheaply for L'Oreal, which includes some Armani eyeshadows and L'Oreal eyeshadows. I always have to laugh when a content creator mentions that an item has a dupe with a L'Oreal product when they are likely the same product. Another person said, I believe that companies who have both high-end and drugstore brands use the same formulas for both. For example, I've used a Lancome gloss that was extremely similar, if not the same, as a L'Oreal one that I also use. And finally, this person said, I think Lancome and L'Oreal are largely the same product, or at least are eventually, kind of like Toyota owns Lexus, and eventually the Lexus technology makes its way into the Toyotas. So yeah, I've noticed this for years now, L'Oreal and Lancome especially, but L'Oreal owns a bunch of different companies under their umbrella, so there are probably a lot of similarities with both. And I think really the only difference is that the high-end formulas tend to come out first, like this person said, and then eventually it works its way down to L'Oreal. So you're not going to get it immediately on the drugstore side of things, but eventually, even like with the skincare, over the years I've noticed Lancome will come out with like this new skincare technology, and then I'll see it in L'Oreal's products maybe like the following year. So I absolutely believe that they share formulas, and also just that the drugstore stuff is maybe a little bit more cheaply packaged, or because it doesn't have the name associated with it, there just isn't as much markup. All right, then for eyes, I'm going to be using the Doll Squad 2.0 palette. So many of you guys have told me how much you love this palette, and I'm so glad because I feel like this is one of the best palettes in my collection that I use so often. And because Doll 10, it doesn't get as much hype as other brands, people are missing out on this formula, but it is so good. These mattes have such a velvety feel, the perfect amount of pigmentation, and the shimmer shades are also just really like rich and they pop on your eyes. I kind of wish there were more shimmers in this palette, but I did see that they're coming out with a Doll Squad 3, and one of the requests was for more shimmer shades, so I honestly can't wait to see that. That's going to be amazing. But for now, we're going to use the regular Doll Squad palette. All right, so using the crease brush from my Doll 10 collection, I'm gonna start out with this kind of dusty taupey shade right here. And the next one says, clean beauty, cough, cough, co-cyst, cough, cough, is planned obsolescence. They tend to go bad faster unless people are exclusively using that every day, and even then, and you have to shell out for products that tend to be more expensive because clean equals expensive now. They like to press the chemical-free concept, but it's like everything has chemicals. I'm okay with chemicals. I'm okay with product lasting more than 4 months before going off. And then they also had another theory that says mascara samples and minis work better than the full size. I actually did get a couple of comments saying the same thing, and they said especially when it comes to Tarte mascaras. And I thought that was really interesting because that has happened to me. Like, just on a quick side note, I've tried mini sizes of high-end mascaras and loved them, only to go back and buy the full size, and then I just never like it as much as I did the mini. So I'm not sure why that is. I don't know why they would use a different formula, but it's definitely something that I've noticed myself. And then as far as like the Kosas and the clean beauty thing, that's an interesting theory. I mean, there is so much clean beauty now, and it's this huge trend now because so many people are like afraid of quote unquote chemicals. There's a lot of fear mongering going on. So I think that these companies are definitely trying to play into that a little bit and to scare people into saying like, you need something clean or else you're putting your health at risk. So there's partly that, but I also do agree that it's kind of like a side benefit to them that products go off quicker and then you have to repurchase it again. The only thing is, I don't know if that would backfire, because for me, like, I bought the Tower 28 lip glosses and I really liked them, but they went bad so quickly and they started to smell funky. It made me like not want to repurchase them again because I felt like it was a waste of money to have to keep buying these all the time. So I think it could work for some people. Like, if they really truly love the product and they feel like they can't get anything else similar, they might just go ahead and keep repurchasing. But I think for a lot of us, we'll just be like, wait a minute, I don't have the money to keep buying this $20 lip gloss every couple months. So I'm just going to stick to something that actually has preservatives in it, you know? So I don't know. That's definitely an interesting take on clean beauty. All right, the next one says there aren't any differences in low-end mascara from high-end because the sister companies share formula. So this is kind of like what we touched on before. I think it's kind of similar to the eyeliners and lip liners. Mascara is one of those things that, you know, it's inside a tube. You can't really see the product, and even if you could, it's just gonna look like a bunch of black goop. So it's not like a low-end brand copying a high-end brand's like palette or something where it's gonna be really obvious. You really can't tell much of a difference other than like the shape of the brush. And I have noticed a lot of drugstore brushes that look the same as the higher end ones. So yeah, I think it would completely make sense for somebody like L'Oreal to just make the same mascara for Lancome and charge more for it, and then charge less for the L'Oreal version. They're still making money on both of them. They're just making more on the Lancome one. But there are people who buy the high-end ones, so why not? It's interesting. I mean, I'd love to hear from somebody who's like a diehard Lancome mascara fan. I know my mother-in-law loves them. Like, if they've tried L'Oreal mascaras and whether they feel like they really are comparable or if they aren't. Next, I'm just going to deepen up my outer corner with this shade right here down in the bottom corner, and I'm going to use the flat brush from my brush collection. The next one says, I think new foundations and concealers are recycled formulas in different packaging that are presented as new to gain attention and to sell more. So this is, again, kind of like along the same lines as the mascara thing, but I don't know if what they're talking about is like within the same brand. Like, does the same brand release another foundation or concealer just in different packaging? Or are you talking about like between all these different brands? Like, are there some just general foundation formulas that are out there that companies can just buy like from a lab? And maybe a bunch of different companies are buying like the same exact formula and just packaging it as their own or marketing it as their own. I have to believe that that does happen to some extent. I think some companies will probably go to a lab and say, you know, we want our own custom formula. But I do know that some labs just have like stock formulas on hand, almost like private label, where a company could go to them and just say like, all right, let me just grab like this formula. This one seems nice. And it's something that's already existing, and they sell it to multiple different brands. It's just that we never know which brands actually do that and which ones do create their own formulas. It's almost impossible to tell, but I do notice sometimes when I'm using drugstore foundations that it'll remind me a lot of a high-end one, to the point where I can't really notice the difference. So it is really interesting to think about. I think a lot of the makeup that we use that's high-end, we could probably get the exact same thing at the drugstore. We just don't know it. All right, then for my lid, I'm just gonna pick up this shimmer shade right here. It's kind of like a champagne color. And I'm just gonna pat this right in the inner corner and bring it toward the middle. This color is so pretty. It's so brightening on your eyes, and like it's just so metallic. All right, so the next one says unannounced reformulations. I know Sam Ravindal swears the MAC Warm Soul blush was changed, but even when she was at their lab, she asked them about it and they said it was the same. She has even shown swatches of an old one and a new one. The other one that comes to mind is the Chanel Cream Bronzer. So yes, I have also noticed this with certain products that I've loved. The Milani Luminoso blush is different than the old one. I have both and they're definitely not the same. Also, some of my favorite blushes from the Balm are different. They get hard pan now where they didn't before, and they did announce that they were changing their packaging to make it more recyclable, but they didn't really mention anything about the formulas. But I still feel like they're completely different now. So I hate when companies do this. I'm just gonna use the Doll Pro Lash Miracle Lifting Mascara. Yeah, I hate when companies do this, and I think they don't want to admit it because they don't want people to be disappointed or to stop buying the product. But I wonder if sometimes it has to do with things that are out of their control, like a supply chain issue, especially in like post-COVID times, because there are just a lot of things that had to change because we couldn't get certain ingredients. And it may not have been that they wanted to change it, but just that they were forced to change it for some reason or another. And they just feel like if they tell people, then they're not going to use it anymore. On a side note though, this is my first time using this mascara, and like, look at my lashes. They're super long and more voluminous. Like, this is a really, really nice formula. I'm enjoying this, and I felt like my lashes built up super quickly. I didn't have to keep putting multiple coats. It is a little bit on the wetter side, so it builds really fast, but it's not clumping up, which I love. This is really, really nice. All right, moving on to the next one. It says, hi Jen, my conspiracy theory is about Ulta's 21 Days of Beauty. I believe they do the 50% off on products that are old. They're trying to get rid of old inventory. On more than one occasion, I've had to return items that are either dried out or smell rancid. So that is interesting too. I've always kind of thought that the brands like pay to get into the 21 Days of Beauty. I could be wrong about that, but I don't know if Ulta actually decides who's going to be in it or if it's the brands that want to do it. I'm guessing the brands have to be involved, especially if Ulta is willing to sell the products at 50% off. That means like the margins are going to be smaller. It could just be a coincidence that the products were old, or also I think, you know, part of it could be true that some of the brands maybe things that aren't selling as well as they want them to, they put it in 21 Days of Beauty just to get people to buy it. So yeah, in that way, it probably could be like older products that have been sitting around. I wouldn't doubt it. Oh my gosh, this mascara. What? I love this. It really just gave like that false lash effect. This is so, so nice. I'll have to put like a pinned comment down below and let you know if this smudges on me, because like I said, this is the first time I'm using it, but I love the effect that it gives. It just makes my lashes look huge. So I love that. Also, it's made in Italy. I forgot to mention where all of these products are made. I know you guys like to know. The foundation is made in the United States. The under eye corrector is made in Italy. The palette is made in Italy. And the concealer was made in Canada. So So, all right, let's check out the next conspiracy theory. This one says it can't be a coincidence that Natasha Denona releases keep getting leaked. It's being done on purpose for marketing. P.S. Can't wait to hear everyone else's theories. This is so fun. I did get a couple of these comments about Natasha Denona leaks, and I 100% agree with you. I'm just gonna use the Doll Skin Genius Cheek Flush in the shade Rose Flush. This is like the absolute best cream blush. If you haven't tried Doll 10's cream blushes, you're definitely missing out. These are just so weightless and they blend effortlessly on the cheeks. They turn right into a powder and set down, so they don't feel sticky. They're absolutely weightless, so they are so beautiful. But yeah, just as somebody who works with brands all the time, I constantly am getting products ahead of launch, and they always warn me, like, don't post about this until we post about it, or there's like a certain date that I can't post it before. And I have to imagine that if, like, let's say Trend Mood, for example, had leaked a Natasha Denona palette, it's pretty likely that Natasha Denona wouldn't want to work with her anymore. And the fact that she keeps working with her and they keep doing this indicates to me that it's planned, because there's never any repercussions for these early leaks. And it's not just Trend Mood. I mean, I've seen them leaked on other accounts as well. I'll never forget, I accidentally leaked the first palette from Alamar Cosmetics. And when they were like just starting out, the brand owner reached out to me and asked if I would feature her palette on my Instagram page, because I used to do a lot of those like stencil swatches. She said she was going to send the palette to me. I said, that's great. And then a few weeks went by and I hadn't gotten it and I kind of forgot about it. And then I got a box that said BoxyCharm on the outside. And I just thought it was my BoxyCharm because I was a subscriber already. And I opened it on camera. I filmed it on my Instagram stories, and it was the Alamar Cosmetics palette. And again, because Alamar hadn't even launched yet, I wasn't really making the connection that it was this email that I had gotten weeks ago. So I just was like showing the palette. I did swatches, and then people were like, are you leaking this palette? This is like the one that's supposed to be coming out. And then Alamar reached out to me and they were like, take the stories down. Like, and so it was this whole big thing. It was completely by accident, of course, but like the brand was not happy that I did that. And so I can understand something getting leaked once, but if it's repeatedly like the Natasha Denona palettes are, I just feel like there's something more behind that. All right, the next one says e.l.f. charges more for their dupe products because compared to the high-end brand, it is a savings, but compared to their own original products, the prices are high. I actually mentioned this in a video a few weeks back. I said the exact same thing. I think that e.l.f. can charge more for the dupe products because if you look at, let's say, like Lash and Roll versus Roller Lash, or the Halo Glow liquid filter versus the Charlotte Tilbury one, it does look like it's way, way cheaper. So you're comparing it to the high-end brand. But if you compare it to other drugstore products or e.l.f.'s other products, yeah, it seems really, really expensive. But I think that they're kind of banking on you comparing it to the high end. So it's a good incentive to put out more dupe products because it's just going to force you to compare it to something more expensive, and then you don't really notice or catch on that the price has gone up considerably from like what it used to be. I definitely agree with that one for sure. Then for lips, I'm going to be using the Lip Smoothie Superfood Treatment Lip Gloss. This is such a beautiful lip gloss. I have it in the shade Berry Bliss. It does come in a couple different colors, and it basically has a serum-like texture. It has hyaluronic filling spheres, so it makes your lips look really smooth and plump. It doesn't sting or burn your lips at all. It's very comfortable to wear. It has a nice like vanilla scent. This is also made in Canada and it has such a like rich and cushiony feel. It feels very like balmy on your lips. I love it so much. And this color is the perfect Your Lips But Better type of a color. It really just adds a little bit of flush and it just looks so natural. All right, next one says brands are pushing cream products because they go bad faster. Powders last way longer. So yeah, I think again, I don't know if this is just like brands are pushing cream products because they're trendy right now, and they really have been ever since the pandemic and people started like wearing more minimal makeup. Cream just seemed like a very like low-key, more natural looking finish on the skin than powders. So I feel like that's kind of what started the trend, but kind of similar to the clean beauty. I think that maybe while it wasn't intentional, brands are probably liking the fact that the creams go bad a lot quicker or they dry out and then people are forced to go and repurchase. But again, is it really intentional on the brand's part, or are they just kind of like catering to the trends and this is just sort of a side effect of that? I'd really love to hear your thoughts on this and everything that I talked about today down in the comments below. Here's the final look with the Doll 10 products. I just love love them so much as a brand, and I really don't talk about them enough here on my channel. These are just products that I reach for all the time just in my everyday life because they look so natural on your skin, and they just really are just the type of products that enhance your natural beauty rather than covering it up. And I love that. They're just so wearable for every day. I do have a coupon code for doll10 in case you're interested in trying any of these products out. It's JenDoll15. I'll leave it all linked down below. I believe it even works on my brush set. And I hope you enjoyed today's video. I really had fun with this. This was kind of eye-opening. I definitely agreed with a lot of the things you guys talked about. And like I said, I'd love to hear what the rest of you think down below. Thank you guys so much for spending time with me today and for clicking on this video. I really, truly appreciate it. If you have a little bit of extra time, I'll pop some of my more recent videos right up here for you to check out next in case you missed some of them. And I hope you'll consider hitting the subscribe button if you enjoyed today's video. So thank you guys so much, and I'll see you all next time. Take care, guys. Bye.